This is the bottom line. Hey, let's just go into it. Combines went through one night. Now we get offensive linemen tonight, which is a big product on the dish for the Giant fans. As we all know, we cannot neglect another year of O-line. But that's not even what I want to get into. We always talk about O-line and edge rushes. I'm sure that we will address it. I'm going to tell you right now. We talked about it. We watched the quarterbacks last night. And I'm going to go straight into it. Quarterbacks is my specialty. Not saying that I know something more than others. I grew up playing quarterback my whole life. So I study them. I watched the quarterbacks last night. And I've already done homework on the quarterbacks in next year's draft, 2023. I'm almost positive that we have a young, thinking GM now and head coach, Joe Shane, Dabble. They look like they're ahead of the game. They're younger. They can think up plans that probably Gettleman in his old age wasn't really pondering. Pickens looked good. He's got the frame, the body, the height. He looks like the whole physical package. Nice arm. Looked better than I thought. I want to talk about Malik Willis because a lot of Giant fans are in love with the kid. Number one, the kid got my heart when he did what he did with the homeless person. The people who know me know that one of my biggest things in life is I have a very soft heart for the homeless. And I'm always collecting stuff to bring to them. Clothing, food. So I do those things. So when I see him walk up and take clothing out of his bag for a homeless person, man, that tells me a lot about the kid's character. You have yourself a good person right there, okay? He didn't walk by, he didn't neglect it, and he didn't know that he was being taped. So, he's got character. The man's got arm, right? Some of those post routes, those deep throws, very impressive. Now, again, you're a quarterback that's headed to the NFL, so you're expected to make these throws down the field. There's no defense, and you're not having a pass rush trying to kill you. Right. But the deep throws were right on the money. He's got the arm. He's athletic looking. If you remember a few years ago, Haskins came into the combine, and you didn't like what his body looked like. He had a stomach. Weight. Man, having an athletic body, a built, a little bit of muscles, it looks good on an athlete. You're going to the pros and you want to have that look. The biggest thing that told me something good about Malik Willis yesterday was the body language. His body language, he looked very confident, yet not arrogant. And he comes off as a leader. Someone that can lead men and doesn't have to talk about it. You can just see it in his body, his facial expressions. He looks serious about what he's doing. And I like all these things, man. Listen, Malik impressed me yesterday. I saw some things I didn't really expect out of him. And I still got to see a lot more, man. The pro day is going to be huge. But the kid might be climbing himself into the top 10. All the other quarterbacks, I'll be honest, I wasn't crazy about. But you could always have a guy in the second round as a project. My problem with these quarterbacks is I think that they're projects. I think it's going to take time. And I'm not saying you don't draft it, since we have a young team that's going to be a project itself as a whole. We're going to have to, develop. But I've already been doing my homework on next year's QBs, and this is why I think the Giants keep Jones one more year, and they're looking to next year. Okay? You have a kid named Van Dyke who's unbelievable. You guys could go check out the highlights from the Miami Hurricanes, okay? Van Dyke is a beast. He has the full 100% package. The body, the head, the arm, the accuracy, the leg work, the footwork. And the man is very smart and you know, I've heard Tiki Barber several times raising his name. I mean, he's being compared in some ways to a future Peyton Manning. And that alone is huge, man. That guy, he's not even a kid. He looks like a man, and that's the difference. He don't look like a kid. He looks like a man. A guy who's going to be ready for the NFL the second he steps in. You guys got to check him out. You got Stroud next year. You got Young. You got 3 quarterbacks next year. I make a strong case that none of the quarterbacks in this year's draft are in that level. Like, next year's crop is head over heels better than these quarterbacks. You want to tell me you could take a Malik Willis because we have 2 picks in the top 10, let him sit for a year behind Jones and learn? He has plenty of ability, tools, he's athletic. Yes. You want to do it? Do it. Like I said, we have a GM and a coach right now that are thinking ahead, something we haven't had in a long time. I truly believe they are really smart and real strong talent evaluators. So there's 2 things I feel can be done. Number 1, you could start selling the whole league that you're in love with Malik or Pickens. You're in love with either one of them. And you start the hype train, which is probably already started. And you get some teams to bite. They want to come up, make a trade. Maybe the Giants get a boatload and move down. And you get yourself another number 1 next year, as we all know, what the Giants probably trying to do. So you line yourself up with 2 1s next year, so you could go up no matter where you are. Let's say you have a decent season and you end up drafting in the middle of the first round. You can move up and go get a Van Dyke, a Stroud, a Young, whichever one you want. Right now, to me, the kid like I said, he's not a kid. Van Dyke looks like he's going to be the next generational quarterback in the NFL. I'm actually calling it right now, a year early. You look for that kid to be unbelievable. You can line yourself with 2 1s to go get him or Stroud or Young, whichever one you like next year. And you ride 1 more year with Jones, and you bring in a backup here, of course. For now. Or someone trades up for a quarterback ahead of us. Jets, Texans, 3-4. Which still would help the Giants, because if we stayed at 5, that means one of these beasts like Ekwonu or Hutchinson, right? Or Thibodeau fall to 5, and the Giants have a choice at 1. And you can still go get yourself Cross at 7. Or, like we said, the other option, if Malik is still there at 7, and you want to go take him, and you think he's the guy for the future, you draft him. Because in a way, you don't know where you're going to be drafted next year, right? That's the other side of this. And you don't know if you're going to be able to pull a trade to get yourself a second one next year. And you might not be high enough to go get one of those top quarterbacks next year. So you take a Malik Willis at 7 if he's still there. Because teams are going to probably look to move up to get him. And you can have him sit, and you got yourself something for the future. If you, Joe, Shane, and Dabo truly believe in him. We have options. Again, I saw things in both quarterbacks last night. And that's just, that's just passing with no defense. We have to see more. We've seen some of their games this year. But every year there's teams that are desperate for a quarterback and are willing to bite the bait and come trade up a boatload to get a guy that they want to dream is their future. And who am I to say that Malik Willis isn't? So the Giants could be sitting in a good spot where they might get offered a big trade. Now, outside of the quarterbacks, it's well known there's 2 kids I'm crazy about. You got Thibodeau, you got Ekwonu. I die to have one of them. Right now, I don't think either of them get to 5. I think the Jets will take Ekwonu. I think Thibodeau would go in the first 3 spots. I got Evan Neal going 1, so you got Detroit and the Texans. But the Texans can easily be bought for that 3rd pick. The Texans would easily trade out because they need a lot and they would take a few more picks. I'm not going to go into all of that. I still believe you build this O-line, you get an edge rusher, you get a linebacker, you grab a tight end or 2 in this draft. And there is rumors that the Giants are going to try to keep Ingram, which is something I would like because I believe Ingram is special and he hasn't been able to show it in the shitty offensive systems he's played in. But I believe Dabo's going to bring a system that's going to have Ingram light up the field. And a small portion on Barkley is you keep Barkley unless you get some real good picks that you're looking for. It's not just a 2. I need a 2 and more. You got to give me a 2 and a 4, a 2 and a 5. And I still got to think about it because Barkley's going to be coming back next year much healthier than he's been. And if you build an O-line, I think you get a strong Barkley. Now, I don't know what the future holds, if they're going to pay him or tag him or trade him. Again, if you're going to trade him, you got to go for it. So when Jones Shane says he wants a 1 for Barkley, he's pretty much doing business. Saying I want a 1 means you better not come to the phone with less than a 2. And I like that. That's a GM that understands the value of business and where he stands. And he ain't going to sell stuff short. I'm already liking this GM and this coach. I'm already liking what I'm seeing. Again, I wanted to say that Malik Willis looked good last night. He showed me character, athletic ability, big arm. His passes down the field were beautiful. Does he have the tools to be something down the road? I'll say yes. But you have to weigh your option. Do you want to build your trenches and bring in with what is clear-cut a better crop of quarterbacks in next year's draft? And you would get them on that rookie deal next year? Or do you feel you might not be in the top 10 next year? Won't have a chance at them. And you better spend one of your top 2 picks this year on a Malik Willis or on a Kenny pick. That's something that they have to think about. That's something I don't even have an answer for. And if you made me choose one right now, I would lean towards building this O-line and getting a big edge rusher, tight end, trenches. Build a ready-made team. And if you could pull off a trade to get yourself another 1 next year, line yourself up for the quarterback next year. Daniel Jones gets 1 year. You try to put up a little line in front of him. Let's see what he could do. I like Jones. He's a great guy. He's an athlete. And he's poured his heart into trying. He's living in their facilities. And I believe he's ready to go. We haven't done right by him. We all know that. But it's in the past. But I believe if you ask me right now today, Jones is a 1-year quarterback to get us to the 23 draft. And every time the GM and coach say Daniel Jones is our quarterback for this year, I read into that because I've heard them say it several times. That truly means only this year. He's going to have a real big season for them to believe that he's the future and for them to give him a new contract. 2 small things. I'd like to keep Martinez. He's willing to take the pay cut, and I'd like to keep him around. We could use a linebacker like him, and he wants to be here. And it's time to say goodbye to Shepard. I've had enough of the guy. Now, I understand if you keep him, you might be able to save more money rather than not. So I'm not so sure how that works at the moment. But if that's the case, and you could keep him for realistically, he's not taking a cut to $1 million. But if he could stay here for 2.5 for 1 year, $2.5 million, you keep him. You never know. Maybe he has a healthy year. Maybe you can work him in and out and keep him fresh all year. When he's healthy, he's a player. but he's never healthy. He's never available. And the injuries have mounted big time. I think sometimes you got to cut the apples that have the little wormhole out of the basket and start with new apples, because the sour apples will ruin the rest of the basket. You know what I'm saying? It's time to cut the disease and move on, and we have a couple of players like that. We'll see what happens. I believe in this GM and coach. Today's a big combine, offensive line. Running backs I'm interested in too. I wouldn't mind grabbing one in the later rounds. Hey. Again. Kenny and Malik Willis showed me something yesterday, enough to want to keep an eye on them. I'm not saying let's run up to the podium and draft them, but they showed us something where you could start to have discussions about it, and I'm pretty sure our GM and coach are discussing it. Hey. Look, maybe we'll have a live stream this weekend. A couple of the guys, Blue Scoop, go over the combines, go over the options for the Giants. Combines come and go, and sometimes your thought process changes a little. That's the bottom line, Miz.